So it's time to go head to head. Two of the largest companies. We've got State Farm on one end and we've got USAA on the other. Two of the most impactful in the insurance industry, where we have State Farm being the largest market share and USAA being the fifth largest market share size as far as auto insurance go. Which one's the better option? Let's go over that right now. So State Farm, founded in 1922, Bloomington, Illinois, is one of the largest companies. They don't market as much as everybody else, although they don't need to anymore. They're large enough to where they have a huge, massive group of people that are insured with them. They've written over 80 million policies and have over 19,000 agents. And these are exclusive, or as they call independent agents, where they only sell the State Farm product. You may have seen them in the news. There's always a good and a bad to them. There's some great things and some negatives, where we've got one guy suing them because he's being kicked out of the business, and another guy is doing great where he's just thriving. There's a whole mix of this when you get to this size, this large of a business, and overall we're looking at it from the customer's aspect. What makes State Farm so impactful versus what makes USAA equally or more impactful than the other? Well, looking at the history of USAA, they also are large. They're the fifth largest as far as auto insurance goes. They have over 36,000 employees. So they do it a little bit different than what State Farm does, where State Farm has specific agents that go out and build the book of business for them, where they market to their center of influences, or they reach out to family members, or advertise and build a whole company around the system. The portion that you see where USAA doesn't do that, and they have so many employees, is because they're a military-focused group. That's one of their asterisks that you see everywhere they go. And one of the reasons you don't see them in the number 1 and number 2 spot as far as being one of the best companies is because they don't fall in the standard category of auto insurance, mainly because you can't just join them. You have to either know somebody or be part of the military in order to just get in the door. Well, according to Bankrate.com, they did an article about them, and they actually rated USAA way higher than they rated State Farm. Out of 5 stars, USAA got a 4.7, where State Farm got a 4.4. Now, Bankrate is not the end-all be-all. That's just a company that is really good with data and gets information and has a lot of information to use. But we also want to look at the AM Best, which is a company that rates all of these companies separately. The score for State Farm was an A. The score for USAA was an A++. If I'm not mistaken, they call that superior. That's the best rating that you can get in the auto industry. What do they use for that rating? They're looking for claims, service complaints, the pricing with the model, and the overall ability or the score of the company. They have an index of how well their internet and their tech pieces are, where people completely rate the company in general. And USAA is just crushing it. The only thing that they're not doing great is their prices have started to creep up a little bit. And some of the people that are with them are noticing that they are better fits for some other companies like State Farm. It also doesn't end there. J.D. Power has their rating system as well, and they're a big guy in the market, been around forever. Also rate similar to what AM Best does, which is more of the AM Best. You can think of them more as the financial stability of the company, and the J.D. Power is more of what I mentioned before, the overall rankings of customers, complaints, and all of that. Well, they are both very similar. We've got USAA at 890 out of 1,000, and we've got State Farm at 881 out of 1,000. So far, these guys are looking like they're very competitive with each other as far as the overall rankings. So the average cost, you're probably wondering what is the charge, who's better and who's going to be the best. If you're just looking at the average overall without looking at your specific situation, you're looking at State Farm at $1,457 annually and USAA at $1,225. So that's a big reason that USAA is getting those extra ticks on there, is because the cost is a few $100s less per year across the board. But the price and the actual ranking of it, they're so close that I still don't think that determines what's going to be the best one for us. when you're looking at the companies, there's a few things that USAA is not doing so great that State Farm is doing fairly well with. If you haven't watched my video on the State Farm's Drive Safe and Save app that they've started, it's a telematics system where it tracks your driving and it gives you a pretty large discount. I believe it's up to 30% you can get off of that policy just for having good driving history and having the ability to show that you're a great driver. USAA just entered that market. I also did a review on them, which failed pretty miserably. So if you want to watch that, go ahead and check that out. I have high hopes that they're going to fix it in the future. But right now, as far as the tech portion, they're not really keeping up with a lot of the other companies out there. Now, one of the benefits that State Farm also has over USAA is they have what's called a steer clear program, where if you're under the age of 25, you can get up to 20% off if you haven't had any claims in the past 3 years or longer. USAA doesn't currently show that they have any special programs for younger drivers, although when you're going under a parent's policy, they do have some discounts that go towards that. The part that they really focus on is that military portion. If you have your vehicle on base, you as well are going to have up to a 15% discount for that scenario, where if you're going to have it on the base, they're going to give you a discount for it being safe. On top of that, USAA doesn't charge any monthly fees where everybody else does, essentially, that I know of. And if you do a monthly payment, you're going to pay $2 to $5 per month in additional charges. USAA has said, nope, not for our military group. We're going to remove those fees so that you don't have to pay those extra costs. So are you a fit for either of them? Well, let's take a look. Let's start looking at the insurance score or the credit score and see whose prices are where. So those with poor credit, you are going to lean towards USAA. They're averaging $2,270 per year versus the State Farm at $3,309 per year. Once you get up to that better credit or that good credit, they even out a little bit, where the excellent credit, so we're 750 plus credit score or insurance score as they call it, it's $1,030 with USAA, $1,126 with State Farm. As you guessed it, they vary. So if you have average credit, you're going to have $1,277 with USAA versus the $1,656 with State Farm. And then when you have good credit, they also level out a little bit more, $1,225 on USAA and $1,457 with State Farm. So that tells you that the credit portion is fairly heavily weighted in favor of USAA. Now here's where it makes a big difference. Remember how we talked about State Farm's discount for 25 and younger? This is where State Farm really controls that market. You've got to remember that with the data that we're using from Bankrate, you got to dive a little bit deeper. So when we talk about what we're going to go over now, which is the age, 16-year-olds, that's only adding them onto a parent's policy. That's not them getting their own. When we talk about the 18-year-olds, those are off on their own, average credit, and they have a location that they're renting, a primary residence. So they're kind of off on their own. So the 16-year-olds are not alone. They're off under parent's policy in this situation. State Farm is going to win that battle in most of these scenarios because age is heavily weighted over towards State Farm. So a 16-year-old, you're going to find that USAA is $2,186 to add them onto your policy versus the $2,077 that State Farm is going to offer. Age 18 is where this starts to change, where USAA is going to chime in a little bit better. Because remember, now they're off on their own. $3,336 for USAA versus the $4,137 for State Farm. At this point, I'm just going to round them off. So if you're 25, you're about $1,500 versus $1,700 with State Farm. And age 30, you're $1,300 with USAA versus $1,500 with State Farm. And when you're age 40 and up, you're about $1,200 versus $1,400 to $1,500 over here. So the younger version or the younger drivers high up on the pedestal of State Farm, but the second you get to that age 18 or older, that's where USAA flips the script and decides to come back. The last category that we're going to talk about before we talk about their apps and their technology portion is the driving history. So if you have tickets, DUIs, accidents, things like that, who's going to rate those heavier? they're actually not far away. So State Farm on average are about $1,500 to $1,600 when you've had a ticket versus USAA, which is $1,400 to $1,500. So about a $100 difference between the two. When you've had an accident, they're pretty much level. You're $1,681 with USAA and $1,657 with State Farm. With DUIs, you're very similar. So USAA is $2,126 versus $2,201 for State Farm. So let's dive into the app systems. The apps for both of them are actually really high rated. We've got State Farm at 4.8 and 4.7, depending if you're using Apple versus Android. And we have USAA at 4.8 and 4.5 out of 5 stars, Apple versus Android. So no matter what one you're using, it's a wash. Both of these guys have great apps. The only time you're gonna find that you're gonna be super frustrated with the company is if you're doing their telematics systems. So that's that Safe Pilot that we talked about with USAA. Once again, I'll link that video there if you want to watch the review about it, but it was less than favorable. So when I first started researching this and I found that Bankrate article that I used, I actually was impressed on how much USAA was overall better. But when you really bear it down to the bottom nitty-gritty, they're pretty level. State Farm is trailing the overall scores that USAA has. So at this level, to be honest with you, I would check them both. Because now we have to figure out which one not only is good with our home, are they good with our boats? Are they good with our motorcycles? Are they good with our other products as well as that auto portion? And we need to find out if they're good fits for everything. I know that USAA is good with most of those scenarios. I think that State Farm, in my opinion, has a little bit more experience when you have that large bundle of everything that you want to insure, but that wouldn't deter me either which way. I don't mind having my motorcycle with Progressive and my auto and home and all of that with USAA. That's not necessarily a big deterrent of going which way or the other. So which one do you think is the best company? Let me know in the comments below what your guys' thoughts are. Have you had great experiences with either? Have you had negative experience with either? I'd love to hear it in the comments below, but don't forget to subscribe if you want to follow more videos and comparisons like this. Let me know what companies also you want me to start reviewing and if there's something specific that you wanted me to look into. Hit the bell icon so you don't miss future videos. Otherwise, I'm Mark with Think Insurance. I'll see you in the next one.